we're going to rain on Thursday.
Well, a very good evening, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH 286, Patricia and David, on this Monday, the 3rd of June. And it's been dull and grey, but okay, no precipitation today here. 1023.7 on the bar, just 6 knots of west-southwest. The boats that took off yesterday and the day before have got it pretty good from the southeast. We've got 75% cloud cover at the moment, and as I said, 17 degrees, which is pretty good for this time of the year, especially with the lack of wind and the wind from the anticyclone coming around and giving us a little bit warmer weather than what we would normally expect from a west-southwest or a southwest wind when it's coming up from the bottom. Anyway, quite a lot of activity in Europe because this week, of course, is the D-Day celebrations for the 6th of June, but they have started in France already with a lot of politicians arriving. And today they had 3 C-47s fly over Normandy with each one dropping a whole long string of parachutists. It must have looked pretty spectacular with the traditional round white parachutes coming down. Would have brought a tear to many eye, I'm sure. So 80 years, there's not too many people that have survived the landing and are still coming. They're very much in wheelchairs and looking pretty old, but there are still some there that have been interviewed and are on the television. Well, talking about that sort of thing, as Ed mentioned on ARCA yesterday, the Tongan Navy, we're going to be doing some exercises in the northern area of North Minerva today, so maybe that's why a lot of boats left in case they were a bit worried about being at the other end of the live firing. I think I'm not sure that I would have been too happy about it. Still a bit rough out there, and I think Obsession, I know, will be leaving tomorrow when things calm down a bit. Certainly it's rather nice if you're a powerboat leaving New Zealand now with this nice anticyclone. And thanks to Ed on Podgian, we got a very nice picture of the beast. So I'm hoping, he was hoping that the Tongans didn't think it was somebody invading, maybe from Fiji. The beast is Michael Hill's boat, and I know, David's just telling me, yep, I know that, but he doesn't have the radio on, so there you go. It does look very strange. It's got this strange camouflage pattern on it, which would be very hard to see. It would be a very good military boat, but anyway, it does a lot of going to and fro in the South Pacific to interesting places. Just a couple of reports. North Minerva, as reported by Podgian, 18 from the southeast, a little bit south. Well, it's 135 degrees. I think David said it wasn't what Rich reported, wasn't exactly what the model said. 1.75 metres southwest swell.
Close enough.
50% cloud cover. He's just said it was close enough. 1018. Y2K report that in Funafuti it's 11 knots of southeast. So yeah, pretty decent weather apart from the New Caledonia and Vanuatu. Looks pretty disgusting, but we'll wait and see if anybody reports in. I'm first going to see if Koinua is on frequency because we've been expecting them to be checking in. Koinua, Gulf Harbour Radio. Yeah, interesting. They might have a radio. There are a few of them around. And if there are enough radios like this, I will make a request to get the frequency changed. I don't know why they've given us this frequency so high up in the 8 megahertz band, but if you are struggling to, if you can hear but not connect, transmit, then please let me know because it would give me enough incentive to actually make a request, but it does mean changing a couple of antennas. Anyway, what else have I got? I've got a couple of bits of news, but is there anybody out there wanting to check in? Please call. No, we're talking to ourselves, which is if it's the case by the end of the week, we will not be on Saturdays and Sundays. There's no point in just talking to ourselves. We can do that in the comfort of our living room. So we'll continue during the week, and if nothing is heard, but I'm sure somebody that's listening might have something interesting to tell us, and share it with other people. And that's what this net is all about. Meantime, I will ask David to give a bit of an update on what's happening weather-wise in the Pacific. I've got you, Lisa. Go ahead. All right. Well, yep. Certainly, it will be pretty good conditions tomorrow and the next days to get into Fiji. It's looking a bit snotty at the moment. Thanks for letting us know that somebody is there. And here's David.
Well, speaking of Fiji, might as well give the report. This is from Fiji Met, and I'll just read it to you. In fact, I think that's what we'll do this week, since we only have a few people that are talking. I'll give Fiji weather from their Met service, and Tonga, and maybe Vanuatu. I don't know. But anyway, for Fiji, there is a strong wind warning that remains in force for all Fiji waters. It's been like that now for a couple of days. And the situation, just like yesterday, a high pressure system to the far south of the group directs fresh to strong southeast winds over Fiji waters. And so the forecast to midnight tonight for Fiji waters: southeast winds 20 to 30, and rough to very rough seas and moderate southeasterly swells. And the further outlook, tomorrow in other words, southeast winds 20 to 25 knots, rough seas and moderate southeast swells. And I can tell you, looking at the satellite imagery and then looking at the Fiji Met map that they put out, which pretty much confirms, their map confirms what the satellite picture is showing us. There are a number of troughs that are up in the northeast part of our area: Tuvalu, Tokelau, Samoa, Northern Cooks, that kind of thing. But what's more important is there is a trough that runs up and down the chain of Vanuatu. Actually, the axis is just to the east of Vanuatu, but the cloud is definitely there, and there's a lot of high cloud, thunderstorms, squalls, that kind of thing. And then there is another trough that runs from the Solomons, and it kind of cuts southeast, and it goes just not quite over New Caledonia, but that direction. And the cloud, though, there is enough of the cloud to affect New Caledonia, that's for sure. And looking at the satellite imagery, as I'm doing right now, which is an hour old, yep, New Caledonia is definitely getting cloud, some low, some high, and Vanuatu is getting it as well. And there's bits of cloud that are scattering themselves over Fiji as well. They're moving from the west to the east, and low cloud and high cloud. The high clouds are the ones that'll give you the squalls and whatnot, so those are quite obvious. Okay, so let's move over to Tonga. And the forecast from the Tonga Met Service through midnight tomorrow for the coastal waters. And I'll give a vow in the Hapais now. The southeasterly winds will be 15 to 25 knots, rising to 30 knots, 30 knots at times. The winds are expected to decrease by tomorrow to 20 knots. Aren't we lucky? Rough seas, 3 meters, then becoming moderate by tomorrow, and a moderate southerly swell up to 3 meters. And for Tonga Tapu, for midnight tomorrow, southeasterly winds 15 to 20, rising 25 to 30 at times. The wind is expected to decrease by tomorrow to 20 knots and rough seas up to 3 meters, then becoming moderate by later tomorrow, and a moderate southerly swell up to 2.5 meters. And their outlook for Wednesday, and they don't go into much detail there, but basically for the main three groups of islands of Tonga, southeasterly winds 10 to 15, rising to 20 at times, a slight to moderate sea up to 1.5 meters, and a moderate southerly swell up to 3 meters, especially for Tonga Tapu. And as usual, they give the barometric pressure at Fuamotu down there in Tonga Tapu. The airport at 1 p.m. was 1019.2 millibars, 1019.2. So it looks like for Wednesday things are going to moderate for Tonga. They've certainly been under the gun for the last week, so hopefully things will start to get a little bit better. And that's about all I've got for the moment. So I'll give it back to the chief unless anybody has any questions on the weather. Oh, the trip to Fiji tomorrow should be pretty nice. And I should mention that there is going to be a little bit of a disturbance to the southwest of Minerva by late Tuesday, by about, well, actually, it's
tomorrow, Tuesday.
going to start up Thursday, is what I meant to say. Thank you, Chief. Thursday. This is Thursday I'm talking about, the 6th. There is a disturbance. In other words, we're seeing cyclonic flow just to the southwest of Minerva. And that is probably going to turn into a very small depression. What's happening is we're seeing the famous polar dip on the high that's over New Zealand. Again, this is happening on Thursday. Polar dips we don't like to see because they could form depressions, and that's what's going to happen. A depression's going to form. So I don't think it's going to affect anybody at Minerva, but it will affect the boats that are coming from New Zealand going north. We don't have anybody talking to us from there at the moment. So I think that's it from me. I'll give it to the chief.
Yep, no problem, Lisa. Is there anybody with any weather-related questions before I go on to other things? There is somebody there, but I can't make it out. Could I have a relay? I've got somebody saying, I heard the Gulf Harbour radio and I heard, do you copy? But it was very light. Lisa, can you hear who is calling me? Over?
I heard exactly the same thing, but I keep trying. Over.
Oh, it's Taurus. Over. All right. As per usual, I am going to be struggling. But if you have a question, say it a couple of times. Say it a couple of times, and we'll try and work it out. But it does sound like that is Taurus, and we know that we have a little bit of a struggle with your signal. So go ahead, and we'll really, really listen carefully. Over. Okay, Cara, I know you gave a position, but it's really, really difficult. Just stand by. Could you throw any light on that, Lisa? Over?
No, sorry, nothing. You didn't ever noted. Over.
Yeah, could anybody give me a relay on the Taurus position? No, all right. Well, I'm going to look you up on the AIS and find out where you're going, and hopefully that will be up to date. I'm still struggling with some quite late reports from the AIS. Some of the boats I can get 5 hours, like Bella Vita for example at the moment is 5 hours old, and yet a boat not too far away is right now. I've got the reports from the AIS, so there's some bit of a difficulty with some of the reports. Anyway, Taurus, Kara, if you could just give me a Roger, is all well on board, over. Okay, I think I got all well, but that is, and I'll put down the AIS position in the book. It's very staticky because of this system that is coming from Oz. Aren't they nice to us? They've had a lot of rain with that low that's in the Tasman. Sydney was flooded in the weekend, and it's just been not very nice, and I think it's just causing a lot of noise in the airwaves. All right, well, nothing much more. I didn't hear anybody else, and I'll just make a note to look for Taurus to see where they are going. I just did a bit of a chuckle when I know I give you news from time to time, because when you're away you don't really bother tuning in, and there hasn't been much happen because it's Monday and the news people I think go on holidays for the weekend, but the usual international things are still going on. The Russians are bombing hell out of Ukraine, and the Israelis are doing their thing in Gaza. So I happened to just come across an article about old wives' tales, which was in one of the sites, and I thought this is really quite interesting. The first one was the one about cod liver oil being good for the heart, and this has got a very hearty false beside it. Evidently, if you've got problems with your heart, then maybe it is helpful, but for people that are not having problems with their heart, it can actually be a negative thing, with causing irregular heartbeats and various other things. So there you go. Whilst we have heard all this about the various fish sources and their unique benefits, there's not too much truth in it. So the other thing that was there was drink honey and lemon for colds, and in fact that is true for the various reasons they go through. But a hot toddy for a cough is false. So there you go, David. No whiskey and or whatever for a cough. That's absolutely false. Gargling with salt water for sore throats, absolutely true. Very, very useful. Going out with wet hair causes colds. Obviously that's false, because you need bugs to cause a cold, but anyway, it was a good old wives' tale. Starving a fever, again false, because the body requires food to build up an effective defence against infection, so starving yourself could actually be detrimental. Chicken soup for all ills is true, and there's various reasons why that, mostly related to the anti-inflammatory and antiviral properties in the gut, particularly things like onions and garlic, chicken broth, and the various vegetables like onion, garlic, carrots and celery. I know there's carrots on board obsession, and I had to make a carrot cake for David because he thought that was good having a vegetable. So there's a few old wives' tales that are either true or not so true, and there you go. Is there anybody with anything to share on Gulf Harbour Radio? Please call now. Oh, there's Ed. Hello, Ed. Are the Tongan Navy still there, and did you hear anything happening today, over?
I think we're in the room this morning, and they're outside of the
Well, I've just had to turn down the confounded Kaio antenna is cutting in and out from me again, and you're actually coming through well on my other one. But this wind, I think you were talking about, I've forgotten what it's called, the boggy waller or whatever it is. Can you just repeat that again, Ed? Over?
Okay, yeah, the reinforced trades, the old Fijian name for these long periods of reinforced trades is called Bogi Walu, and Bogi Walu translates into 8 nights, over.
8 nights.
I could answer that.
Here's David. He's wanting to make a comment.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. Yes, I know about that, and in fact, I've known about it for many, many years. And I think the 8-night thing comes from the fact that when we have a very, very large high that produces the strong winds on the perimeter, on its perimeter, that high is usually slow moving or stationary, and at times they're what we call blocking highs. And that's about 8 days they hang around before they move off. So there's a lot of truth to the Boggy Walu. Over.
I guess, it's like believing in the stars, and, people have a lot of time to watch these things, over.
That's right. That's right. Anyway, well, I'm glad the Tongan Navy is aiming away from the anchored yachts. You never know when guns swivel who's at the controls, but I think it's actually very interesting that they're making a big effort to come and visit the yachts and make themselves known, because years ago it was the Fijian Navy that would come in and do the same thing. And of course, you're probably aware, in fact, I'm sure you are, that there's this big controversy over who owns Minerva. You know, the Fijians lay claim, the Tongans lay claim, and their patrol boats come in and they leave and come in and leave and all that kind of thing. But seeing the Tongans now more frequently, that's kind of interesting. But anyway, I'm glad they're friendly. The Friendly Isles. There you go.
I noticed though that the light's not working on the reef. Maybe they'll fix that while we're here, over.
Oh, well, I wouldn't hold your breath for that, though. Yeah, but it would be useful if it was there. Going back sort of 15, 20 years, the only time they visited, they sort of spent more time looking for crayfish. But anyway, that would be good if they did fix it. Hey, I would like to try and get the position of Taurus, because they're not on AIS. Did you hear them call in, and would you be able to relay? Because your signal's pretty good, Ed, over.
I heard about, I'm only hearing sections of hearing about what they're hearing. I know someone's in there, but I can only make out a word now and again. But I'll listen again, and between us, maybe all three of us can come up with something.
Yeah, it would be quite good. Taurus, if you could give your position, we'll just try for the position. Could you go ahead again with your position, Kara? Over. No, nothing heard, Ed, so never mind. But yeah, it's a bit difficult, especially with the conditions up there at the moment. It would have been good to get a position. Anyway, your signal is really strong. Not too many people left in North Minerva now, so I'm hoping that Whitehawk and the others heard David's report about the weather in South Minerva. Might be a good time to think about leaving if they were going to leave. Okay, is there anybody else with anything to share? Please call. Well, Freitas has got a good signal. Good evening to you. I didn't look to see whether you'd left, and I think you have, haven't you, over?
No, negative. Still in South Minerva. We've moved up with Whitehawk to the other end. Not all set here. We're going to stay here for a few more days. It's looking like leaving on Friday, so I gather that you won't be on over the weekend.
Well, we will if there's people at sea. So we'll have a look for you on Friday to see if you're still going to go. And yep, we'll keep looking at the weather and make sure that system is not going to do too much activity. And you're going on, just let me think of without looking it up. I think you're going on to Tonga, aren't you? Yeah, no, again, this radio is upsetting me. Could you just give me, again, your destination? Harbour, okay, checking in there, that'll be interesting. Okay, all right, yeah, we enjoyed the Harbour, and it's sort of, it's good to check in there because it's sort of off the main trunk line. Okay, we'll have a look at that estimated ETD Friday for Harbour. All right, got you. All right, is there anybody else wanting to join us?
One more thing, Patricia.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, we were whale hunting in the lagoon yesterday, a whale in the lagoon, South Harbour.
Wow.
Wow, that would have been interesting. So a whale in the South Minerva Lagoon yesterday. Wow, that's the first report actually of whales. It's actually quite early, isn't it, for whales? So, oh well, it'll be interesting in Tonga this year if that's the case. Well, thank you for letting us know. Actually, it's been quite interesting this year. The reports of albatross were very interesting, and there does seem to be fish around as well. So it looks like the oceans are pretty healthy. So, did it hang around? Was it a whale with calf, or just one single whale? Over.
Yeah, one solitary whale, an early strike period with a blue, and then down it went, and we didn't see it again. Over.
Oh, roger that. Okay. I always love seeing things like that. When we were cruising this year up north, we went into Tutukaka and we'd had dolphins, quite big dolphins, with us, and they just followed us in, and it was astounding. We were by the little island at Tutukaka, anchored, and just there must have been, how many of them? About 4 or 5, I suppose. Big ones, just hanging around, having a good old time. So it was quite fun. Actually, there was a cruising boat, but they left and we didn't get a chance to meet them. Anyway, all right, well, thank you for that information. Is there anybody else with anything interesting?
South Harbour, this is Master Plan, over.
Oh, hello, Master Plan. Where are you guys? Good signal.
Thank you, Patricia and David. We are at Tonga Castle and just leaving tomorrow morning for Hapai. So, yeah, we can away off. And yeah, it's just been interesting other things. No, I haven't listened for a few days, but good to hear of fish and traders calling in. So, regards from all on Master Plan to those, please.
Okay, I'm sure they heard you. Good signal here. So Obsession and Freitas, a big hello from Master Plan. So that's great. Yeah, good signals around. It's just that we've got a little bit of static crashes and cutting in and out with the internet. All right, yeah, booming signal from you guys though. Okay, all right then. Well, I'll leave the frequency open. If anybody wants to have a chat, make contact, then it's all yours. We'll be here again tomorrow. I'm not sure if anyone knows anything about the boat Koh-i-Noor. Greg, there's about 4 people on board. They left and they're currently at, well, I did actually write it down, where they were on the AIS, and they are at 2930 and 17719 east, and that was an hour ago. They had looked as if they had about 10 knots east southeast with a speed of 6.4 and a northeast 051 course. If you know Greg and the team on the boat Koh-i-Noor, it's a catch. Okay, cheers everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio. We're clear and the frequency's all yours.
I think so.